I have faith that the Constitution will be saved as prophesied by Joseph Smith. But it will not be saved in Washington.
However, Mormon extremists disregarded federal warnings and established Port Joe Smith, deep inside the...
If there are any among this people who should ever apostatize, prepare your backs for a good whipping.
The mandate given by the First Presidency and the presiding bishopric is to only focus on financial growth. EPA employees are told that the money will be used after the second coming of Jesus Christ or during Armageddon right before he would come again.
In coming days,
Those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming.
are you a full tithe payer?
One of our brethren some years ago spoke of the payment of tithing as fire insurance. Nonetheless, the word of the Lord is clear that those who do not keep the commandments and observe the laws of God shall be burned at the time of his coming. For that shall be a day of judgment, a day of sifting, a day of separating the good from the evil. I would venture a personal opinion that no event has occurred in all the history of the earth as dreadful as will be the day of the second coming, as fraught with the destructive forces of nature, as consequential for the nations of the earth, as terrible for the wicked, and as wonderful for the righteous.
Damn you! God damn you all to hell!
This is not the Church of Emmanuel, Christ of Latter-day Saints, Joseph Smith. This is the Church of Jesus Christ.
Travis, my good soul. So, it was weird. This morning's run, I go out to start my run, and hail. And it comes down pretty heavy. And it lasted the whole run, and then when I got home, it stopped. It was weird. What's all that about? And so, yeah, it was enough hail that it created a snow layer on the ground. It was wild. So, a secret combination infiltrated Joseph Smith's church. And they rose up in number through missionary conversion, recruitment, and rose up in authority, in ranks, in the quorums. And in 1838, after failing to permanently lock up Joseph Smith for sabotaging the Kirtland Safety Society, they then went to their next attempted coup. And this involved a more intricate plot. The plot was to it's very interesting because they mocked Joseph Smith. It was over the land of Adam-on-Diamond. Benjamin Franklin Johnson is said to have moved to Adam-on-Diamond in 1838 with his family, where he is immediately arrested. Only this secret combination, yes, Danites, were living there. That was their secret headquarters. And according to Benjamin Franklin Johnson, he's threatened to betray Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon and the church. And he says he never denied his testimony of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Oops. He's a Danite. He caved and became part of the Danites. And yet this church keeps perpetuating the lie that he's an example to all of us not to betray this church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I was told back in seminary days. Likewise, Thomas B. Marsh was chased out of the church by the Danites, threatening him to join them or die. Same with David Whitmer. There was a whole purge of the church because of the incident that is incorrectly called the Mormon War. It's actually the Danite War. This was the secret combination. And so in 1838, the surrounding towns had on their election to decide for settlement and development of the land that included Adam-on-Diamond. And so these Danites did not want that to pass. And so they called on all the Danites to Adam-on-Diamond. And they went to the polling location and threatened people not to vote for the development of Adam-on-Diamond. And Chris Stewart's third great-grandfather was the Danite who was the first to get punched in the face and knocked to the ground. He's out of Congress now, isn't he? Didn't we have the election for his replacement? Which the new clerk did not send me my ballot so that I could vote for Rocky instead of the woman who's married to a Danite, Mendenhall. Yeah. This Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are Danites, run and operated. This is why I'm constantly attacked by Mormons for doing my videos exposing the real church history. They know they're the enemy. They know they are the cause for the extermination order. They know they framed and replaced Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon, calling it Christianity with Jesus Christ and the Book of Mormon, another testament of Jesus Christ. When anybody who knows how to read can see learning of the Jews. And so we have little kids who still don't know anything about the church going out on missions, telling people to join the church and pay Jesus atonement money for his atonement for us. We're paying them back, huh? Not even Christians have that doctrine. Except for, well, there's, the sale of indulgences for Catholics is probably the closest. But it's for sin, not for Jesus' atonement. Which is sort of the same. But in a slightly different context, with a different religion. And so, with the war, or the fight that occurred there at the polling station, the Danites then took their, I think, upwards of 1,000 men. It was a lot of people, a lot of guys that went to this to make sure that their headquarters was not what's it called? Eminent domain from them. Utah loves to pull eminent domain for that reason. They've done it many a time. And they marched to a judge's house and a sheriff's house, threatened them both to sign an affidavit saying that it was Joseph Smith who is threatening them, and to decertify the election. I've already done all these videos. Please do not come on my channel thinking you're going to history-splain me. It's just, dear God, you guys have no respect. You who are ex-foe nevermos. I mean, it's bad enough that Mormons threaten me as Danites, but for ex-foe nevermos to tell me I'm wrong, that you've heard from somebody who's published a book who got the information from Danites, and thus lies. Thank God. But regardless, this started the wars between the city, villages, whatever level of development they were at, in which there was house burnings, there was murders, there was rapes, there was thefts, all part of that. And believe Hans Mill was also a part of that, wasn't it? But, yeah, the church portrays it as being victims. This was wartime. Anybody who's a woman or a child and who's elderly should not be in the war zone to claim to be innocent civilians, because your presence makes you aiding and abetting the enemy. Yes, I'm referring to Islam attacking Israel right now. We all know previous wars and what was done in them, and it's not being done here. Ukraine, yeah. Russia comes in, a mass exodus of millions of Ukrainians to seek safety and refuge, while the rest stayed to fight. Not done in Gaza. They are not innocent civilians. And still, the Ukrainians, there are too many that didn't actually go, and there are many that stayed behind, and all the news reports of the abominations that were done to them just made me cry. And likewise did Hamas to the hostages. And yet the UN has now signed to force Israel to cease fire. What about Hamas? They're not asking for Hamas to return the hostages. They're not asking Hamas to stand down and cease fire. This was a blatant attack on Israel by Islam. But anyway, that's the same similar tactic. Infiltrate, rise up in number, rise up in positions of power and authority. And then once you get everybody in their position, checkmate, you attack. That's why they attacked on October 7th. They had everybody around the world in place, ready to go, and boom, they did it. And the UN was a part of it. And that's why you're seeing our own president and vice president as anti-Semites. Dear God. Kamala Harris is married to a Jew. And she's clapping for an anti-Israeli song, anti-Jewish song. And only Fox News is going to be able to cover that. The MAGA press, or the Deep State Dem press, won't cover it. Which is sickening to me, because both sides are purposely setting up Trump to be the savior of the Jews. Like Cyrus. Just sickening. Pissing me off. I see it, and everybody else is not wanting to talk about it. So yeah, America is in great trouble right now, as Joseph Smith prophesied, which we're about to get to. We're setting it up with the Danites and the threat that Brigham Young was the leader of. And so these Danites went back to the church, to the members of the church. Joseph Smith is locked up in Liberty Jail, and they are now threatening Mormons to obey them, that Joseph is the leader of the Danites, and that anybody who doesn't join them is going to be murdered. This is their pattern of practice. Threatening to join or be murdered. That's why I've been attacked all this time, ever since I deciphered Paleo-Hebrew. They don't want Joseph Smith to be true. They say he's the founder, but as a prophet, seer, revelator, and translator, no, only titles. They deny prophecy and revelation, just like the Methodist preacher in the 1838. Oh, huh. Yeah, they prevented that from getting published until 1842, after Joseph Smith got back. You'll notice forged documents are dated to 1838, blaming Joseph. But here's a weird one. In section 117, likewise, forged document, didn't exist until the year before Brigham Young died in 1876, with his latest edition and final edition under his reign and ministry of the Doctrine and Covenants, in which he also replaced section 101 from the 1835 edition on monogamy and put in polygamy. These documents had never existed before. Section 132 doesn't even have an original document. Section 116 is obviously forged because they found one of the old books where the ink was faded, which means it took decades, confirming that it originated near the time of 1876, when it was put into our Doctrine and Covenants, and shows fresh, brand new ink, claiming that Joseph Smith had gone to Adam on Diamond and said, this is where Adam sacrificed on this altar, and then this is where the Ancient of Days came, and he'll come in the latter days to hand over the keys of authority to Jesus by Lucifer, which, that's why it was a bombshell that resulted in me coming here in this book. This is the plot of the latter days by the Danites. Remember, Jesus is not real. It's the learning of the Jews. And so this whole thing of Lucifer giving the keys of government to Jesus, this was the death threat that was waiting at the bus stop for me. The elders in that area do not take the bus. I saw them. They were always on bikes. And there was also the security company who were stalking me at that stop as well. They were the same security company that was in charge of the Taylorsville Temple with its construction that was going on. They think they're being clever. And so in section 117, it's supposedly by Joseph Smith, 1838, right before it all hits the fan. And he's talking to Newell K. Whitney, among some other names that did not get decoded in the 1981 edition, even though the church says they got it all. Nonetheless, verse 11, let my servant Newell K. Whitney be ashamed of the Nicolaitan band and of all their secret abominations and of littleness of soul before me, and come up to the land of Adam on Diamond, and be a bishop unto my people. For Brigham Young with tithing, yes, section 119, check the date, even though it came out in 1844, after Joseph is murdered. Brigham Young was the one who implemented it. It's priestcraft among extortion, which is a clear violation of Joseph Smith's teachings and the Book of Mormon. And this was a result of the Book of the Law that the church rushed to have released before Thanksgiving last year, in which the economy of the Danites was being developed, as everybody had to pay Brigham Young under the guise of paying for the temple to be built. They were already in the process of murdering Joseph Smith. As you can see, the change from when they started it in 1842 to when Joseph Smith announced running for President of the United States. There's a shift in that document. And so it was clear that they had come up with a new strategy, and then again changed the strategy even further. But that's another part of the story. We're wanting to hurry up and finish this so I can get to 19 July 1840. And so Joseph Smith is condemning Newell K. Whitney for being a Danite. It doesn't say it. It's decoded using the Revelation word Nicolaitan. 11a, Revelation chapter 2, verse 6 and verse 15. And it was, this exposes them for trying to claim that Joseph Smith was the leader, because he's clearly against the Danites, as other documents, including 19 July 1840, makes it very clear. I call it by the date because Brigham Young refused to have it published in his Doctrine and Covenants. There's a reason why yours is about to do or die. Oh my God, that's a military thing, isn't it? That's why I never wanted to join the military. It was too Luciferian. Telling the soldiers to obey and die for the cause, which is the law of sacrifice of Brigham Young. Okay, so 19 July 1840. He's out. He was out later in the summer of 1839 after the damage was done, and tried to put people back in positions who wanted to come back, who were excommunicated. And I went to the Brigham Young's 12 as, oh my God, that October in the High Council minutes. Oh my God. Oh, there it is. You can hear it. It's coming down heavy again. Wow. But they call Brigham Young president. But Thomas B. Marsh is also with them because he doesn't leave until after the 17th of November. Both of them are called president. You can't have two presidents in the quorum of apostles. So what president was Brigham Young? Yeah, the president of the church. And wonder if they're going to be huge like cars from Revelation. It's Utah. It's not Israel after all. We're all going to die. And so, yeah, that's the threat. Ray Montgomery. That's not his actual name. He's hiding his identity. He's hiding his location on purpose. He's telling me that I'm going to be destroyed on 8 April 2024. That's John's revelation. That's the date he gave in Revelation 19. But Christianity do not see it, because they don't believe in the learning of the Jews, manner of prophecy and revelation. So Mormons don't see it. I've had billions of Mormons constantly over the years being a zombie parrot, saying, "No man knows the day or the hour." It was put in there by an editor. It did not belong in the original document. And we know this because they give the dates in Matthew 2. And so, even in Hebrew script, Paleo-Hebrew script, it is purposely designed as prophecy and revelation. It's just incredible. Those Jews were incredibly intelligent, highly intellectual. And then Christianity comes along and it's gone. All hidden and covered up. And the whole world becomes stupid. And there are 4 billion who have gotten caught up in Constantine's lies. Yes, Islam too. They are a different branch off of Christianity of Constantine. And so, it was a woman even though she became a polygamous wife under Brigham Young, Martha Jane Knowlton Corray, unless her husband died. We can check, but it's not that important. Brigham Young didn't publish it because she's a woman, but if she didn't go with Brigham Young, that can also be another reason why. She did not conform and comply to polygamy. She's got her own Wikipedia page and says she was a pioneer. Called by Brigham Young on the Board of Trustees of BYU, the original Brigham Young Academy. He bribed her so that she would go. That's how you know. She's from Kentucky. Is Covington by you guys? James and Jasmine? That's where she was born, June 3rd. 1821. Died in Provo. She assisted Lucy Mack with the biography. Ooh, interesting. That's a fun book to have. The church tried to cover it up. And then not too long ago, not too many years back, released the unedited version, of which I bought. It's just hilarious. Joseph Smith talking about his second vision. She says, "I refer to my son's account." She won't admit it. Hilarious. And so, yeah, ex-faux never-mows do not understand what they're reading when they read that book. They think they got Joseph. No, you didn't. You're not paying attention. You're not paying attention to what she does not say And they're all focused on what she does say that the church tried to edit. He got punked. And so, we're trying to find if her husband, well, he says Correa. So she kept her maiden name. Okay. And so all the children, or many of the children, had Knowlton Correa. There are several who didn't. There's Harriet Virginia Knowlton Correa, and then Euphemia Sophia Correa without the Knowlton, and then William Henry Correa without the Knowlton, Sidney Algernon Correa. Oh, it looks like a consistent pattern after Mary Knowlton Correa. Yeah, the first 4 children have Knowlton in them. And then after that, Knowlton was dropped. Oh, wait a minute, Helen also had a Knowlton, as Euphemia was in between. Interesting. Weird. Wonder what that was all about. Anyway, I digress. And so she wasn't a polygamous wife. She's an educated woman. She's helping as scribe. So Brigham Young bribed her to come to Utah with him and put her in charge of education, away from him. You gotta pay attention. You can't just assume you got it all figured out. And so yeah, I can see why he didn't want to publish this for multiple reasons, and didn't even bother to try to have Willard Richards edit it to suit his purposes. All right, he's talking about his own parable of the 12 olive trees from section 101 in Brigham Young's, which was monogamy in Joseph Smith's 1835, and started in verse 43 is that parable. And so when they get to the part where ... Oh, he keeps talking about it later on. That's where the ... is. And so he talks about 12 stakes which are yet to be built, not the temple in Jackson, as some suppose. He's talking about Zion, and having the 12 olive trees are the 12 stakes in Zion. This is what he's prophesying, a parable prophecy of the future, not then. And he says it's not in Jackson County, Missouri, Independence. That Temple Lot scandal, that was all the Danites. They were the ones pushing because it's right below Adam-on-Diamond. That's why they were using it as their headquarters, but also a symbolism of prophecy, revealing their plot from the book. That is where they would receive the government and destroy this valley and go to Independence to build their kingdom back, having received the keys of government from the destroyed United States of America. This is what they're planning. This is their plot. I'm the only one apparently who knows about it except for the enemy. as I'm the only one who knows that Revelation 19 is the date of when this day that shall burn as an oven with Daniel's abomination of desolation. Christians and Mormons believe that Revelation 19 is the second coming of Jesus. And because of no man knows the day or the hour, they purposely dismiss astronomy to know that the date is 8 April 2024, 13 days left. And I'm already threatened of that day and destruction. You who are in this valley, who don't believe me, who have long since left, your lives are in danger here. I've been warning you this whole time, ever since I found this. My #1 video, Return to Independence, Missouri. I didn't find this yet. It's 40,000 views. And the church made sure to shut me down so that you don't know. They're gonna murder you. The parable that Joseph Smith is talking about is about that day, the enemy. And Joseph Smith reveals who the enemy is. Yeah, it's this church. This document is gold. It needs to be published. And I think I put it on Academia. I think this was the one I put up there. But, dear God, Mormons, and ex-foe nevermos who live here in this valley, you are arguing over Christianity of Joseph Smith's religion and the Book of Mormon. You're both wrong. And the church is laughing. That's why I told you they were going to escalate offenses right before conference. This conference weekend is it. And then, boom, we're all dead. And then the prophets have fled, as it says in that parable. So that when the dust settles, they then, Salt Lake Valley is destroyed. We go to Independence, Missouri, because that's where all Mormons around the world know to go. They don't know about this, that it's in southern Illinois, where X marks the spot that Joseph Smith is trying to tell us. And I've failed. Literally, I have failed. Mormons are going to be destroyed, utterly destroyed, as the Book of Mormon warns. And I have failed to save you because you're still arguing with me. I'm talking about everybody will be at war. Once America falls, nobody's going to stop the enemies in the world to proceed with their full-on attacks. We already know they're setting it up for it. The redemption of Zion is the redemption of all North and South America, but those 12 stakes have to do with Zion in southern Illinois, the mountain cities. And so, let's see, you need to be... He's talking to the Mormons back then. And so then he's talking, we shall build the Zion of the Lord in peace until the servants of that Lord shall begin to lay the foundation of a great and high watchtower. The parable. And he also talks about an observatory. That would be awesome. But why an observatory? Signs in the heavens. Hello. So here's the big paragraph. Then the enemy shall come as a thief in the night, and, one blank line, no, the parable. Hello? Why couldn't they figure this out? They don't want you to know. This is the destruction of Salt Lake Valley. We can go to it. It's verse 51. And the enemy came by night, broke down the hedge, and the servants of the noblemen arose and were affrighted and fled. Your manuals say you're the servants. And then guilt trip you to obey the church. I remember doing that video. And they flee. And so yes, I'd have jet airplanes in my thumbnail pictures. Prophets flee. And the enemy destroyed their works. Everything. The temple, the other temples, the church buildings, the new family history center with the new Kirtland Temple history stuff in it. It's all gone. The church office building, church administration building, all destroyed. They're going to make it so that they can't come back here to build Zion. That they have to go to Missouri to build Zion. And so yes, they're militant. If Missouri is not destroyed, they're going to murder those who are still there. The community of Christ, they're still there. They've got their temple. But Temple Lot, they're going to put up a fight. They'll lose, depending on how many Mormons defend the church to go there. This is why I worry that you guys are being set up. But anyway. And more destruction, 51. And broke down the Mormons, the olive trees, 12 tribes of Israel. Hello. Very easy to understand and interpret. And so the prophets are going to flee. Mormons in this valley destroyed. Mormons around the world will be waiting until the prophets say we need to build Zion. We've been given the keys of government. Come to Missouri. And Mormons will go to Missouri rather than Southern Illinois to build Zion. Pissing me off. Bunch of evil Danites. But people around the world are not part of the Danites. They were tricked into joining the church thinking it's Christian with Jesus. But they're using the doctrines of Lucifer. Do you not know what the doctrine of Lucifer is? Taking away agency. What are the laws of the covenant path? Take away your agency. Oh, but you freely give your will to Jesus. To give your agency up to Him. That always disturbed me. I have to give up my agency to Jesus. And where is He? Oh, it's the prophets. God. And so he talks about the United States of America during this time period. When it's going to happen. This nation will be on the verge of crumbling to pieces and tumbling to the ground. because the enemy wants their kingdom back. When the Constitution is upon the brink of ruin, not hanging by a thread by the Danites, brink of ruin. And he says, Mormons shall be the staff upon which the nation shall lean, and they shall bear away the Constitution away from the very verge of destruction. The Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints is seeking to destroy the Constitution and have succeeded. They've been working with the Council for National Policy, with Leonard Leo, who was the one who helped connect the Supreme Court justices to billionaires. Those billionaires want the justices to vote certain ways for certain things from the church, from that committee, that council. And so Roe v. Wade was overturned because of this. That's why they made sure Trump got to put in 3 Supreme Court justices, so that all this could be done. Women, the church is responsible for your lives being destroyed, overthrowing your rights in the 14th Amendment, Section 1. And not a single news story will cover it. They cover the others, the debt thing and insurrection, but not about a baby versus a fetus or an embryo. Babies have rights, not a fetus, not an embryo. You are being led as lambs to the slaughter, thinking that you're going to get your rights back in the election vote. You're not. They won't let you. They're destroying America. The church wants their kingdom back. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith was all about the Constitution was inspired by the Jewish Christ, not Jesus. For the purpose of equal rights for all. And it took some time to have blacks be full citizens, not part citizens, with a partial vote, and women likewise, and now it's all going away. Our nation is falling, as Joseph Smith warned you of. He knew about these Danites and their plot. That's why Joseph Smith Sr. set up the church with the Book of Mormon. Yeah, Senior. He wrote the rewritten 116 pages. Junior was put on timeout for a whole year until they finished the book. And so, yeah, Bruce R. McConkie lied when he put 1828 instead of 1829 for Section 10. And so Nauvoo. And here he says, for Zion and Jerusalem. This is the new Jerusalem. Must be built up before the coming of Christ. He knows he's going to die. He knows he's Messiah ben Joseph of the Jews. But he's also saying that Mormons are supposed to save the Constitution. You didn't. You voted for Trump as your primary candidate for the election. And so this is what you're not understanding, is that because of Christianity, everything is now literal history. And so the Armageddon War is not supposed to be against Israel, as it is. It's against you, Mormons. This attack is going to be you. This is what Joseph is warning. And I seriously hope the FBI are going to pay attention to my tip that I put in yesterday. Because, dear God, if they'd not responded to any of my tips, we're doomed, literally. It's gonna happen because nobody is gonna stop it. I'm the only one screaming from the rooftops of the warning of the sky falling, or however they're gonna do it. And so the coming of the Son of Man. And so, yeah, it's going to be mountain cities, as Joseph Smith will later discuss. He keeps going back and forth, and so it needs to be reconstructed to put all of the same subject matters together. Let's see. Whoops. We skipped the big part. In the middle of the enemy, then the enemy shall come as a thief in the night, we have Joseph Smith exposing who the enemy is and who they will be in the latter days, because they're the same thing. He says, but before this the time shall be when these who are now my friends shall become my enemies, and shall seek to take my life. And there are those now before me, Brigham Young and his 12 are in the audience. Joseph Smith is Messiah ben Joseph, the forerunner, who is prophesied to be murdered by the Jews. There are those who are now my friends, who shall become my enemies. Then shall the enemy shall become my enemies, and shall seek to take my life. And there are those now before me who will more furiously pursue me, more diligently seek my life, and be more bloodthirsty upon my track than ever were the Missouri mobbers of the 1838 Danite War. You say among yourselves as did them of old time. Here it is, the Last Supper. Is it I, and is it I? The Last Supper is the Jewish author of those Gospels telling a different version of Revelation 19, the wedding supper feast of the Lamb at the Zion Temple. The Last Supper, latter days feast. In the evening time, Omega, which is Tau in Paleo-Hebrew. X marks the spot for location of Zion and New Jerusalem, the mountain cities of the Lord, of Messiah ben David, Emmanuel, through Joseph Smith Sr.'s son Hiram, a branch off 2 Nephi chapter 3 verse 5. This is all about the Mormons. It is not Christian. It is not Jesus. That is abominable. Messiah ben David is going to warn Mormons, and they won't listen, and they will be utterly destroyed. And then the surviving Mormons will go to Missouri and be under the slavery of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and their doctrine of Lucifer, just as Albert Pike said so in his letter to Giuseppe Mazzini. Is it I, and is it I? From Mark chapter 14. Interesting that he chose Mark rather than Matthew, Luke, or John. Mark has to do with Mars. He's telling you the baby name meaning of Nelson. He prophesied Nelson's name. Russell, red. Marion, star of the sea. Red star of the sea. Mars, Mark. Ta-da! That's why Joseph Smith Sr. rewrote the 116 pages and left in Lucifer. That was only put in the Latin Vulgate, not the Septuagint, not the biblical Hebrew text. Only the Latin Vulgate, which is why it made it into our King James English. He knew this because there's another Isaiah passage where he includes both the Septuagint and the biblical Hebrew versions, combine them together in the Book of Mormon. He's telling you he knows about them. And so when he puts in Lucifer, he's telling you he knows. Joseph knows. They know. And it happened. But that's weird, because his parents would have had to have been the ones responsible. And they don't go back to pioneer ancestry, or at least not the father, I think. I can't remember which. Could be the mother, I don't know. It doesn't matter. And so, yeah, it was weird that Trump likewise, 1900, that one book publisher guy, book author guy, writes 2 books in 1900, which was The Last President and The Amazing Journey of Baron Trump, something like that. And so, yeah, when the election was going on in 2016, everybody was thinking that Trump was therefore being prophesied about, as evangelicals said he's going to be the Messiah, the chosen one to liberate the Jews and restore the kingdom of evangelicals. I mean, Jesus. Well, and we'll finish with just an hour video here, as Joseph Smith describes the mountain cities of Zion and New Jerusalem. Now, brethren, I obligate myself to build as great a temple as ever Solomon did. Remember the Book of Mormon? Solomon's temple that Nephi built? Pyramid. Mountain cities. Here's a Danite quote, even Brigham Young used it. When these saints shall ride proudly over the mountains of Missouri to go to Zion, and no Gentile dog or Missouri dog shall dare lift a tongue against them, but will lick up the dust from beneath their feet. He's saying that Missouri is a trap, guys. He's warning you Mormons. Missouri is a trap. You got to keep going to get to the real location for Zion. Now, the enemy knows the real location for Zion because they set up cities named Salem along the first day of darkness. And then there's another one on the second day of darkness. But they missed one because there's one more in Illinois. And there's also another, there's 2 streets also, which makes 10 for perfection, but 9 spots for salvation. And the Jewish tree of life, Kabbalah, is 2 9s to equal 18 line connections, which is 2 salvations. The foundation, Messiah ben Joseph, and Messiah ben David for the latter days. I've been going over this, trying to help you out. And so, behold the temple completed and finished from the foundation, he knows Jewish Kabbalah from his dad, to the top stone. Huh? What's that? I know the chief cornerstone of the cornerstone. I made the corrections and they rejected it in the scriptures for the footnotes. It's referring to the cornerstone which the builders rejected. Mormons rejected Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon in the learning of the Jews, has become Messiah ben David in the latter days, the capstone of a pyramid, mountain cities, pyramids. Yeah, a great and mighty mountain. Interesting. They're in Nauvoo, but not Nauvoo. They're in Illinois. Dear God. So, yeah. This is what the church has got planned. Now, they can say, we're going to prove Travis wrong, but how many of you are actually listening? The church clearly is going through with it. They aren't letting you see the Joseph Smith papers. They aren't releasing a correction of the Doctrine and Covenants to put in missing scriptures that have now been found. They're not doing it. The parable of the olive trees in Jacob, that's for 8 April 2024. They released the video already. It's supposed to be released on that day. What's the ending of the book of Jacob's parable? Burned with fire. Joseph Smith adds to Malachi, to the day that shall burn as an oven. They that come shall burn you. This is why they did not talk about anything of the bicentennial year of the second vision last year. They want you ignorant about this. They don't want you studying it. They don't want you researching it. They don't want you coming to my channel and watching my videos on it. You are going to be sacrificed just as the Gazans are being sacrificed by Islam to put a guilt trip to get their kingdom back. And the church will demand they get Missouri. Adam on Diamond down to independence. To kick out the temple lot and anybody else, even the community of Christ. Get the hell off of our land. It's ours. That's why the community of Christ made such a huge error in giving everything up right now. She did not know her scriptures. She didn't believe them. That was a huge mistake on her part, because the church always betrays their own. Just like the devil, Lucifer, Nelson, Mars, the husband of Venus, inverted pentagram. How art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? And he fell on his birthday last year. And he fell 2 days after, too. Percy had meteor showers on his birthday. And then he fell physically on 9/11. Hilarious. And so, yeah, we are needing to hope and pray that whatever powers that be, whether it be a God above that we just don't know because he's not Christian, or somebody way back in the past who is a seer and a prophet, who predicted the sun shall be darkened, moon turned to blood, stars fall from heaven, for the death of every single Mormon prophet who was responsible for having murdered Joseph Smith. Deuteronomy 19, Purim. We just had it. It ended yesterday. And so, yes, it's prophesied that the great and abominable church shall fall. But it looks like the church is going to destroy itself so that they can go to Missouri and claim Missouri to build their new kingdom straight from scratch. They'll claim, oh, we don't need the Book of Mormon. You have a living prophet of Jesus. Listen to me. I'll tell you what to believe, how to think, how to feel, and what to do to be compelled in all things. Taking away your agency. And you will fall for it because the whole world is in trouble. But Joseph Smith is warning, keep going. Don't stop. Mormons were warned in Matthew 24, don't go with Brigham Young into the desert. You went. So yeah, Mormons do not want to obey. They're going to have their agency taken. And the church will do it to you. And so this is, Stanford was asking about this, and I gave a response, and then YouTube sabotaged me, and his comment got deleted. My reply got deleted. But Joseph Smith's 3 degrees of glory, they are a pattern, and thus prophecy, of the latter days. You're going to have Zion, the real Zion, which are only going to be a few guys. We kind of need women. It's not going to work. It requires a large number of people. The bigger the population, the better and more prosperous Zion will be. Zion is the people. But that is the celestial kingdom. And those who are good people, who don't want to fight, yeah, terrestrial. And then the enemy, who are murderers, liars, rapists, thieves, liars, did I say liars? Yeah, telestial. That will be the condition of the earth. Until the telestial people murder everybody off. And then you'll have just people who want to be good and those who are only in Zion. Knowing Joseph Smith's manner of prophecy, I see that happening. But certain people have to survive. And there are certain people wanting to murder them. And Mormons don't believe, because they believe in Christian Jesus. And they're going to be disappointed. Chaos will ensue. And utter destruction. So